Good morning, sports fans, Lincoln, Logan County. You're in the cheap seats. Scott Kirby, Josh Komnick, broadcasting live from the Christian Village, the area's leader for senior living and healthcare services. Phone Kara or Julie at 732-2189 for a tour located at 1507 7th Street. Good morning, Josh.
Yeah, good morning, Kirby. Nice to be here. Beautiful start to a Saturday. It may not last a whole lot longer, but...
You were mentioning earlier you got some little baseball games to go to today.
Well, it's been raining every day at 3:30 for the last 2 weeks, and of course our games, or my son's games, start at 5:30, 7:30, and 8:30 or something like that. Well, since it's been raining for the last 3 weeks, we got makeup games on Saturdays, so double dip today, 10, 15, and 1. So if you're not, if you want to dodge some of the storms that are supposedly going to come in again, we'll be out at Lynn and Fink to catch some pitching machine / batter's tee baseball.
Now, you coaching that?
I was conned into helping out, and of course, on the week we have 8 games. The head coach, Mr. Patrick Hewitt, is on vacation, so I'm on the I'm the big dog today, I guess.
Good deal. Well, you know, once you start coaching something, it's just kind of.
It seems that way.
You're grandfathered into the next sport.
I started with soccer, which I know nothing about, and now moving to baseball and basketball. I'm sure will be coming here shortly. So fun day though, as long as the rain holds off, and it's supposed to be not terribly hot. So we'll hopefully get a couple in today.
Couple in and get the season wrapped up. A lot to talk about today. We got some NBA draft to talk about. We have Lincoln grad Ryan Aper. He is a draftee of the Florida Marlins, now with the Batavia Muck Dogs. He's going to call in around 9:30. We'll get updated on him, what he's doing.
First live interview, I think, maybe at least for the 96.3 and the cheap seats. First time we've had him in here.
Yeah, I think, it's probably about the first, because I know the past few weeks he's been pretty busy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I sent a text out to his dad yesterday and said, we were wanting to get a hold of him a few weeks ago, but just too much going on, him trying to get settled in. I'm sure he was, not knowing what was going on, and I like to get his aspect of how this went down, because the Major League Baseball draft is completely different than the NFL and NBA draft. It's not as, I guess, advertised and spotlight.
Well, there's so many rounds.
Right.
There's
how many rounds are there? Like
50 some, I think now. I mean, when I was there, it was in the high 40s, and now they just keep adding, and then they got this sandwich draft or sandwich picks where you're in between the first and second round. So it's not on TV.
Right.
It's not basically all internet, and so there's just so many players, and there's so many teams with so many leagues. You think about the NFL, they don't have a minor league system.
No.
So you've got all these Major League Baseball teams that have the minor league system. You got to fill those rosters somehow, so they just keep drafting and more and more and more, which gives everybody an opportunity, which Ryan was not even close to the last, so he was
right up.
He was right up there. So yeah, as you said, Curb, you got a hold of him, and we're gonna get a hold of see what's going on, what's the difference between Batavia, New York, and Lincoln, Illinois, and all the fun stuff that I'm sure he's had a whirlwind in the last couple of weeks.
Well, the one thing that I've talked to several people about is, now this is his job. He doesn't really have to be concerned about. I know he was going to go to Middle Tennessee State, and we'll get all this information from him. And now playing baseball is his job, and that's his number one focus. So he's putting 100% in, to that, to get himself ready to start advancing up, 1A, 2A, 3A, and the ultimate goal obviously is getting up in the big leagues. So we'll get his views and updated on him. He's going to call in hopefully around 9:30. It's about 20 minutes, so we'll get him on here and get his information and a lot of other stuff. We talked about the NBA draft. It was the other night, last Thursday, and Anthony Bennett, number 1 overall, going out of UNLV, going to the Cavs. Kind of a surprise pick.
Very watered down. I thought the whole draft, you just really didn't have that spotlight guy. In years past, you've seen a LeBron or you've seen a Carmelo Anthony or Dwight Howard. There just wasn't that guy there. 2 Indiana Hoosiers in the top 4.
Right.
There's just a lot of guys that you're probably going to have some good NBA careers, but are they going to be that that all-star status of a LeBron or of a Dwayne Wade or the guys like that. I don't think this draft had it, so it was probably a little tougher on most of those general managers and coaches. Who fits our system the best, and are there enough guys? Brandon Paul doesn't get drafted, guard out of Illinois, but he does get picked up yesterday, free agent to the Minnesota Timberwolves. So we'll be able to, and the only Illini to be drafted, and now so a little bit more flair there. And of course you got Major League Baseball still going on. The Cubs lose one in the extra innings.
Extra innings last night. That was a late game.
Yeah, that's out on the West Coast, so I didn't stay up for that. But we've got the scores anyways. So.
And we will talk some Blackhawks.
Yeah.
I know they won the Stanley Cup last Monday, so we'll go into that a little bit later. Just sticking with the NBA draft, I think what a lot of the GMs are doing, they're trying to drop salary, and everybody's looking for next year because next year is supposed to be a really good draft class. And like you said, it's a little bit watered down this year. Some of the kids that they had projected in the top 5, dropped down out of the top 5, and it's just one of those things that you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's year in, year out. Somebody, takes somebody off the wall, and then it just seems to follow suit. Everybody starts to panic, and everybody trying to fill their needs. But, the Bulls taking Tony Snell at 20th pick.
Yeah.
They say he's a good shooter. He's out of New Mexico, the Lobos. Is Kruger still down there?
No, their coach is the guy that used to be at Indiana. Good guard. He used to coach at Iowa for Alford. Yes, Jim on it. Yeah. Not even messing around.
Man, we need to get him on.
Jim is on here. Yeah, Tony Snell. And probably the last time you saw this guy play, they were a 3 seed in the tournament this year, and they went down the first game.
Yeah.
And they were some expected to make it to the Final Four. I had them going pretty far. They had a really good record. But they say this kid is somewhat of a shooter. He didn't show much to me. That was the only time that I got to see him. But he's a defensive guy. He kind of reminds me of a Kawhi Leonard. We watch the NBA Finals. He plays for the Spurs. Kind of that defensive-minded guy. Doesn't make a lot of hooting and hollering. He just kind of goes out and plays. He'll score when he has to. But if you watch the Bulls, Coach Thibodeau is a defensive hustle, no-nonsense type of guy. And I think he kind of fits the bill pretty well for what as far as what Thibodeau. Now, what I thought the Bulls needed, not for much for me. I thought we needed a point guard if we're going to lose Robinson, and Rose gets hurt again. We needed somebody that can shoot it a little bit, and they say this guy can shoot it a little bit. But I also thought we needed a center. But I think by the time you get to pick 20, there's not a lot of centers left. It's pretty watered down by the time.
It's really watered down by then.
So they go, as we talked about, what fits your system. These guys know a lot more than we do, but Tony Snell, and then what they picked the kid out of Florida in the second round, Murphy, which I was a little leery about, I guess. I thought he's a good player at Florida, but my argument would be about 4 picks later, you had Deshaun Thomas, the leading scorer in the Big Ten last year, which was the best conference in college basketball. 6'9", left-handed, can score like crazy. If anything, maybe they didn't think he'd play defensive enough, but I sure would have taken Deshaun Thomas over this Murphy guy, I would think.
Well, they still have some moves to make. You got Carlos Boozer. He's got a big contract. I know they may try to dump him off somewhere, but Thibodeau doesn't like playing, rookies very often.
Right.
And, it might be just one of those things. They're looking down the road. Still not sure what Derrick Rose is going to be like when he comes back. How's his knee going to hold up? I know they say he could have played at the end of the season last year, but it's just all mental. But that's his choice, and he should come back. Everybody's expecting him to come back even stronger next year. So we'll see how that goes. They'll start their summer leagues, rookie leagues coming up here, where you'll be able to see Snell and Murphy in action. Just see what kind of players they're going to be.
Yeah, it sounds like Murphy's a 6'10" and a half big guy, and they're I guess they're wanting him to pick and pop now. You don't do the screen and roll much anymore, so it's a pick, and then you kind of pop to the 3-point line or a long jump shot, and they say that's his going to be his forte, I guess, with the Bulls. So hopefully we need somebody that can shoot the basketball.
Right. Other NBA news, look what the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics just accomplished. A huge trade. Boston giving up Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and who else was it? There's a third.
Yeah, there was a third, but it wasn't as big as those two.
No. Going to the Brooklyn Nets, and exchange they're getting Humphreys and heck, I can't even remember now. But
you mean Kardashian?
Yeah. Well, not anymore. Didn't she marry Kanye West?
They're still married.
Kanye?
I think they're all married still.
It's the NBA saga.
but for the most part, they get 3 first-round draft picks in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and then look who's coaching the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
Jason Kidd. They said the biggest signing of that team was their assistant coach. Now, the name was right on the tip of my tongue, and I can't even remember. But he said he'll be doing a lot of the coaching as Jason Kidd just kind of learns to, fit in.
Wouldn't you think if you hired a coach, wouldn't you want him to be doing the coaching? I mean,
well, that's exactly what
wouldn't
I
you send
thought.
Jason Kidd as being an assistant and let this guy do that?
Maybe he's just more of a mascot, and you've been a great player.
Fills the seats.
Yeah, you've been a great player for many years, so you'll be our mascot. But the guy next to you is doing the coaching. He'll just tell you what to say, I guess. But,
yeah.
And it's got to be tough, becoming a coach. It's got to be different than, actually playing.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah,
they've had player coaches in the past that did both, but we'll see how that goes. They're just turned into, they're not even looking for young kids anymore. They're kind of doing what the New York Knicks like to do and the New York Yankees, and that's just buy the best free agents out there and, build off free agents instead of building the young talent.
Anthony Bennett is the number 1 pick. He's going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's a forward out of UNLV. Victor Oladipo, the shooting guard from Indiana, goes to Orlando. Otto Porter, small forward out of Georgetown. He's number 3 to the Washington Wizards. Cody Zeller, the big man out of Indiana. He's going to the Charlotte Bobcats at the 4th pick. And Alex Lynn, a center out of Maryland, going to the Phoenix Suns. What some thought would be the for sure lock at being number 1, Nerlens Noel. Of course, he had that bad injury during the college season, tearing his ACL. He goes to the Pelicans. I always think that's a baseball team, but now it's a basketball team. Center out of Kentucky, Ben McLemore, Kansas guard, going to the Kings. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he's out of Georgia, shooting guard to Detroit. Trey Burke, I like him, out of Michigan. He's going to be a Minnesota Timberwolf along with Brandon Paul. And C.J. McCollum, Lehigh shooting guard, number 10 to the Portland Trailblazers. So there's your top 10.
Top 10. They had him projected top 5 too, McCollum.
Yeah.
And he just kind of sat there and was with that Noel. They ended up trading him to the 76ers.
Really?
The Pelicans traded him to the Sixers. A lot of trades go on. They do it different than the NFL. You've got to draft a player, and then I guess behind the scenes they, make the trade, and then they tell him who to draft next, and it has to be all okayed through the NBA, obviously. But a little different way to do things instead of going up and saying, well, the Cleveland Cavaliers trade their first pick to such and such. They go ahead and draft the player, and then they do the flip-flop later. So it was pretty confusing. I watched all the way up till about the 21st pick. I wanted to see who the Bulls would get,
Right.
and I was done with that. Like you said earlier, Josh, it was watered down. There wasn't that top-tier player that everybody had to have.
Well, there was a lot of players I thought that came out of college that would not have come out on normal years in the draft.
Right.
Some of them were just borderline. Some of them were good. But, I mean, you just think about it. Deshaun Thomas was the leading scorer in the Big Ten in the best conference. They were ranked all year, and he's in the 2nd round almost to the last pick of the draft. And, I mean, that just tells you what these GMs look for and that can fit their system, because I thought he was really good. And, man, can he score left-handed? He's hard to guard. You just don't guard left-handers that much in basketball. So I thought that helped him, and I was really – when I saw him there, I mean, man, why did the Bulls go get him? But
Right.
we're struck. I can't say anything against the Bulls organization and Thibodeau, because what they get out of their players with the amount of talent that we have is by far better than anybody in the league.
Right. Well, Josh, let's take a commercial break. It's about 20 after 9. Stay tuned. We come back. Ryan Aper Lincoln native, Florida Marlin draftee. He's supposed to be calling in, so hopefully he'll give us a call around 9:30. So stay tuned. You're in the cheap seats on 96.3 WLCNonline.com.